If 21pilots start the All Points East show with some type of visuals that mean restarting the cycle, I'm going to go crazy. That would be interesting. Whenever they release new music, how do you think the songs will sound now that they're not telling the story anymore? That is a good question. I mean, we don't know, right? A little hard to say. The only thing that I think we have to go on is something that Tyler said during the Clancy release live stream, which was that they included Lavish, and it was important that they included Lavish on Clancy because they wanted to have a jumping off point that they could use for future projects to kind of anchor them back to what they had done before, but allow them to explore a new sound in the future. So with that in mind, it seems like that was them saying future songs that aren't lore related or what we might be doing in the future will be more like Lavish in terms of sound, not necessarily in terms of content or topic discussion. That's the best answer I have because we don't really know. Will you ever do a video breaking down and explaining the JD lore, like going really deep and explaining everything we currently know? Yes. Yeah, there are a lot of videos I am planning to make, and that is one of them. It's hard to say exactly when because there's some things I want to get up and running, and then while that's kind of out there, I can work on other things like this, if that makes sense. That's a vague answer, but that's the reasoning behind it. The other thing is this year went by really fast. Ever since Breach released, I feel like I turned around and it's Christmas now, or the Christmas season at least. It's Advent, right? How did that happen? So a lot of stuff that I was planning to do in October, I can't do now in October because it's not October anymore. It makes it a little difficult. So that means it's getting pushed to like January and February. There's a good deal of JD stuff. I think I would probably do at least like a 2-part breakdown of JD lore and then a review of Silver, or maybe not necessarily a review, but like kind of a breakdown, a track-by-track analysis of Silver. Those are the current plans for JD right now, but I'm sure more stuff will come up. And I'm also planning to do at least one video talking about the lore of IDK How at some point. Just a thought, but does anyone think that robot voices might be about Jenna? I think some people do. I don't. I mean, I made a video explaining what I think. I definitely can understand that explanation. Every time Tyler writes a song about Jenna, Josh thinks it's for him. Does Josh think robot voices is for him? Because then that would explain it. That would answer the question. So I can definitely understand why people think it might be about Jenna, but like Riley said, I believe Days Lie Dormant is about Jenna, and I think also just really about his family as a whole. He mentioned at some point after his first kid was born that he wanted to do a song on an album that wasn't just about Jenna, but was about kind of all of them, all his kids and wife, right? And I think Days Lie Dormant really is about his family and his family life and missing them all while he's touring and everything like that. In some ways, I took it to be his explanation, at least, for why he's excited to take a break. Feeling torn, right, between doing the music and doing what he loves in that sense, but leaving behind the people he loves and his whole world now, right, in his family. What is the best song about Jenna? It depends who you ask. I don't know if there's an objective answer to that. I do like The Craving, the single version. I mean, I like the lyrics of The Craving, right, so it doesn't really matter which version. But Smithereens might be up there. I don't know. Might be The Craving. I think it's The Craving. I wonder how it would have been if people didn't go viral. Like, would people make such a fuss about it? Yeah. This post was from a while ago. The post was from before Dragpath started going viral on TikTok. So, yes. And that post was already after several weeks of people echoing a similar sentiment or expressing a similar sentiment, which is why I brought up that post, because it kind of sums up what a lot of people have been saying at that time. Dragpath should have had a spot on the record, but should it have been the last song? I think so. 100%. I feel like they tried to gatekeep that song just for the fans. I mean, I think it's fair to say they wanted it to be a fan song. Obviously, that ship has sailed now. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that was their intention, right? I think you can still have a song that is mostly just for the fans and just still release it just on physical media. But it can be available for longer or become available again in a bit. And maybe they will release it on physical media later. They did that with the Doubt demo, even though it wasn't officially in release until viral. If that was the plan, then why did the Torchbearer look so hurt? I mean, that's a good question, right? I understood it to be, if that was the plan, if we do go with that theory, which I'm willing to have my mind changed on, but assuming that is true, it's because despite the Torchbearer knowing that this is what had to happen, that this was his plan, it still hurts to see his friend fail. I think there's a sense in which at some point this Clancy knew he wasn't going to make it out. He wasn't going to break the cycle, so they devised this plan the torchbearer and him. And we see so many references to the plan. We know there is a plan that they devised together, right? Devised this plan, but it still breaks the torchbearer to see his friend lose to himself. And so lines like, well, I really liked this, Clancy. The torchbearer says, so did I. But that doesn't necessarily imply that he truly believed this Clancy was going to break the cycle. Maybe he allowed himself to believe that, even though he knew deep down that couldn't be the case. But he did really like this Clancy. And this Clancy sacrificed himself so that the drag path might happen and that the next Clancy might succeed. I saw a theory the other day that banditos have the true vialism, that it was hijacked by the bishops. There's a better explanation somewhere as to why, but I'd love to see your take on it. So I don't know if true vialism is quite the way I would put it. I think they have perhaps the remnants and the memory of the true religion. And this is something that we see referenced in the I'm Clancy video and some of the early Clancy letters. The I'm Clancy video obviously references a hijacked religion. The bishops derived their power from two things: miraculous power, and that is the power of psychokinesis, and a hijacked religion, and that is what vialism is now. Vialism is the result of a hijacked religion. So, yes, in a sense, perhaps the true original religion was also called vialism. I don't know sort of what the implications of that would be. There's also a sense in which you could see it as something akin to the Christian religion, right? And this is something that we kind of see when we compare the practices of vialism in contrast to sort of the beliefs behind Christianity. Because in Christianity, Christ is the ultimate sacrifice for all, right? He's the one who lays down his life for others, and it's the ultimate form of self-sacrifice. Because it's self-sacrifice for others, for the redemption of others. Whereas in vialism, we see self-sacrifice in a non-sacrificial way, in a purely selfish, if you will, or self-centered form of sacrificing yourself for your own personal glory, sacrificing yourself, killing yourself through vialism, in an attempt to become a glorious God, right? To achieve this glory that is presented to you, as opposed to either sacrificing yourself for the good of others. I'm sure there's a better way to explain sort of the parallels there, but that could be one way of interpreting the hijacked religion as Christianity turned into vialism. Or yes, again, perhaps vialism, there's a truer sense of vialism. We also see this referenced in the letters in his journal, because we see Clancy reference a sort of hope in which these people, Clancy included, and other people who became citizens of Dima, the hope with which they entered the city. And they were misled by the bishops who presented this hope and then turned it into despair, essentially. Yes, there very much is a sense that there was something better in place before, and then the bishops came in and turned it into something evil and sinister. I think some other people might have a better way of interpreting sort of that connection there, but that's certainly been my understanding of it based off of what we see